All righty. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight on this, the 12th of, or excuse me, let me get my dates straight. On this, the 2nd of June. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. We have Trustee Clayton, Trustee Graves, myself, Trustee Benyon, and Trustee Baker is joining us via teleconference as well. We also have our Superintendent, Dr. Holmes, with us. Our exiting board clerk, Ms. Lori Kaufman. And our new board clerk, pending board approval, Ms. Amanda LaChance. So we also have our student board representative, Mr. Journey Iverson. We appreciate you being here tonight. All right, if you would please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we are in the annual budget hearing portion of our meeting. I have not received any public comment for this portion of the meeting, but I will open it up out of courtesy for those who would like to make public comment for the annual budget hearing portion of the meeting.
There's chairs in the library.
Is that for now or for later?
For now or the next part? Yeah.
Okay, feel free. Go ahead, Ms. Plowman. Thank you.
My name is Pamela Plowman, and I live at 111 East Myrtle Street in Haley. Tonight I just wanted to comment about the budget that you guys are going to vote on. I'm really concerned about how many positions we're adding to the district relative to the increase in our student population. And so, I'm sorry, I'm talking here. So I created a graph to take a look at what's happened in the past 20 years, but I've been told that I can't throw that up on the board, so I'll just give it to you guys, and basically I'll hold it up like this, but on the left we see the positions 20 years ago in the school district. There are 11, basically they're non-teaching positions and non-principal positions. You know, people running superintendent, assistant superintendent, treasurer, clerk of the board, building and grounds, 11 positions, and today we have 44 in that category. And during that time, the student population increased 17%, and calculating these increase in positions, they've gone up 300%. So I just feel that, I call this administrative positions, but I've been told it's not really administrative, but it's non-direct student-related positions. Have gotten really out of hand, and we really need to look there for budget cuts with our current financial emergency situation. So I'm just asking that as a starter, these two positions that are coming up tonight for being voted on would add to this 44 on this list, approximately 44, that might be some missing, but because we have to cut our budget. We have, I think it's around $5 million to cut in 2 years, and we're actually increasing it by just $230,000 in this budget with these new positions, but we have to be going the other way. If our school district is really to survive, I mean, this is a serious financial situation, so I ask that you consider that and really look at how we can cut our budget and not increase by adding positions. So, thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Please step up to the microphone and make sure Lori gets a sheet filled out, please.
Barbara Browning, Blaine County resident since 1968. This will be very brief. I agree with Pamela. There is no rush to approve this budget tonight. Please do not fund any additional positions. Please do not fill some of the vacancies created when people have resigned. Our financial committee did a great job of getting this budget so it is understandable by the public. And everyone I have spoken to in the last 2 weeks is adamantly disgusted with the spending by this district. There's absolutely no way you will get more money out of these taxpayers next year, year after, year after. So please, bite the bullet now. Use your God-given gumption to say no. Send it back. Eliminate these extra positions. Show people you're serious about cutting this budget and cutting district spending. Thank you.
Further comment? Please fill one out and step up to the microphone.
My name is Tom Richmond. I live at 126 Willow Ziegler subdivision.
Excuse me, would you please use a microphone? It's not for us, it's for those that webcast at home.
Yeah, hold it.
Yes, please.
I just think our budgets are excessive. You know, you go to the state website and the State Department of Education, and you take similar districts, student body size. Jerome's just down the road 60 miles, Middleton, Mountain Home, and then up in North Idaho you have Penderay. And we're outspending these school districts by 250 to 300%. I own property in Jerome County, and I realize the assessment down there is higher, but the assessment's lower here, but the property value is higher. But say we didn't have Lincoln County in between Jerome and Blaine County, and I was back at the age of 30 and I had kids in school. If I had a choice where I'd send my kids, and it cost $7,000 in Jerome County, and I don't know how many students we have enrolled now, 3,400. You divide that into 84 million, and it's over $20,000 a head. And this has been going on ever since, Jones was superintendent. And it's just been escalating because the property values have escalated. And I feel like the board have felt, there's a need to spend all this money. But how wisely are we spending it? Chatterton's a common thread between all of these superintendents, and I think he's given bad advice on, I realize he's been around, but like all the money we have is in-house school maintenance. Keep this crew. There's 180 days a year they can't work on the buildings because they're holding school in there. But we pay them, I don't know how many benefits they're getting with it, health and retirement and dental and all this stuff. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, does Jerome have a full-time maintenance crew on hand all the time to handle a toilet that won't flush? Or what do we do with these guys? Back when Jones was superintendent, they'd call us.
I'd please ask you to not refer to names in this public comment as per our policy.
What's that?
I'd refer you back to our public comment policy and request that you not name names.
Oh, okay. Well, back, say, 20 years ago or whatever. But they would call local contractors. We need the principal at this school needs this project done. We'd go in around the weekends or Christmas vacation or spring break and do these projects. We didn't have this expensive maintenance building and all these full-time employees. And And just like before I come in here tonight, health insurance, you know, due to the Affordable Care Act, in some states is going up, like Texas, a big state, over close to 30%. South Dakota, 47%. Well, we have a very high ratio of employees to students. I think it's, what, 1 to 5 or 6? And the bennies that come with these, and, you know, the cost of having these employees, that's why our budget for salaries is so high. And then you go to the state website and look at our administration costs, which I don't hear real well, but I heard her addressing this. We have almost as much administrative cost as Meridian, and they're 10 times the biggest school district as we are. So I think we're a little top-heavy with, you know, assistants to assistants, and we have, I don't know, 10 or 11 departments underneath the youth, curriculum directors and correspondence directors and all this stuff. You know, it kind of looks like Obama's cabinet. And I just think it's gotten clear out of hand. Let's see. What's the deal? You know, like 37 million spent on the McKinstry project. You know, that kind of has gone by the wayside. Did we ever get those promises fulfilled? You know, they were going to pay back. You know, somebody, if we had a newspaper around here, did any investigative reporting, you know, they'd follow up on that, because that was a very controversial project, and we spent millions of dollars, you know, on that. And how beneficial is it? Are we saving big bucks, or did we lose our stuff on that? You know, I just think perhaps it'd be smart. We spent about $2-3 million on legal fees on that. If we hired an efficiency firm to come in there and look at a lot of the things the school district is doing, and see how efficient are we at these things we're doing. There's firms out there will come in. I mean, are we saving money having this staff to do this maintenance? I mean, we've got relatively all new buildings. Most of them been remodeled. And on the other hand, we got this crew in that expensive maintenance building. Like I said before, I think you can, you know, take a car and compare it. I can get to the same point in a $25,000 car, like Jerome's driving, or we have a $75,000 car that Blaine County's driving, and we'll get to the same place. You know, those kids are going to graduate. There's opportunities in our junior colleges and our local colleges in the state to get an education. And you don't have to go to these expensive out-of-state schools to get a decent education. I've had, you know, all 3 of my children went to school here. They were raised, and I have 2 grandchildren in the school system now and 2 that have graduated. And I'm not saying they got a bad education, but I think it's grossly overpriced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Did I miss anyone? All right, with that, I'll close the public comment in the annual budget hearing portion and open it up for board discussion action of the 2015-16 school district budget. Any discussion?
I guess I'll start the discussion. I think that at our workshop that we had, was it a week ago?
26th?
It was the 26th. We had an addition. Well, we've had 2 workshops on it. We had an additional workshop last week where there was, I thought, a good amount of healthy discussion between all of us. And I guess I would just reiterate my feeling that we have this presentation by Mike. We're well aware of our financial situation coming up in the next couple of years, that if we continue doing what we're doing, our reserves will be down to 0. So I feel that I would like to pass this budget. However, I would also like to say we don't have to spend all of it, and because we need to start saving, and we might as well start saving this year. And whether that's with new positions or or other positions that come up, or other, not even positions, just looking at the overall budget to really task the administration to start coming up with a financial plan. Those are my first comments. Might have more.
All right. Trustee Schwartz.
So I agree with you. I think that we do have, it's very obvious that we have this situation where we're going to have to cut spending. I know that there's some other feelings on the board that we can raise revenues. I don't share that opinion. I am on record as saying that I didn't think the 3 new positions were prudent. I do think that the board has a say in that. The other thing, I think that we met as a financial accountability committee about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think that committee should be strengthened. I think that committee, which Lyman is on, a few other people are on, I think that there's a stronger role for that committee. These people are wise, they're experts, so I hope that takes place. There was also, the last thing is that I think that we had talked about a letter to the staff and to the public, and I know that we kind of came up with some wording for that, just to try to say, here's the situation so nobody's shocked, and I would like to look at that tonight and think about sending that out. So, thank you.
Further comment?
I don't know if I think Lori had copied that. I don't know what the procedure is for talking about that tonight.
All of the copies you requested are in your packet.
Thank you, Lori.
And there was an article in the paper that Terry Smith had written, I'm sure everybody saw it, outlining the situation. So I think, a follow-up letter by the board is a good idea.
Yep, and there's the copies are here if you want me to. So, if you want to hand it out.
Make sure Journey gets one.
Yeah.
All right. Further comments?
Sure. So I think that the district financial officers delivered a budget as charged by us. They were asked to come in at a flat line over last year. They produced that budget. They came in $1 million over it initially. They were then asked to go back, scrub it, and come back flat line over last year. They delivered that budget to us, and in that process, became very evident that we were in a fund balance decline based upon operational expenditures for the district. That operational decline is now very obvious to everybody and has a due date of probably 2 to 3 years out. So my feeling is this budget is delivered as asked and required, but the charge moving forward should be to figure out how that we mitigate that fund balance decline over the next however many years to keep that as alive as possible. And that process needs to begin immediately, because that's going to be a pretty big scrub. At the burn of $2 million a year, we have 2 years to survive, maybe 3. If we can mitigate that burn of $2 million, like Liz had suggested in the workshop, maybe with some incrementally reduce that expenditure, then I think the district will be on solid footing, and then we won't have to go to the top line for maybe 4 or 5 years. That would be the prudent movement going forward. And then, obviously, as Catherine said, the charge to the district to, here's your budget, but by all means, feel free to come under, right? I mean, I think that's fair. So there's my 2 cents on it. I'm for the budget as it stands right now.
I appreciate that. I agree wholeheartedly. We, as a board, gave the directive to come in flat. Staff did an excellent job of basically taking board direction and accomplishing that. Being able to maintain the programming that we have, maintain the options for our students. I fear if we are only talking about cuts, the impacts that it is going to have on our students and the impacts that it is going to have on the offerings. And I think that needs to be a discussion that we begin with the community on if we are serious as a board about coming in flat without a deficit, then we really need to have a serious discussion with our community on what's most critical, because in my opinion, I don't think we can maintain what we have with coming in without a deficit. And so if we are to do that, I think we need to have that conversation with our public on what is most critical to them. All the while, I appreciate Mike's recommendations and comments about being creative on increasing our top line. It was mentioned that an increase of 4% in average daily attendance by our students would be an increase of $600,000 in funding from the state. It's not a cure-all, but it'll help. And I think any small increments we can make on our top line, as well as acting as responsibly as we can, I think it would be very prudent. I'm not opposed to a letter from the board. My fear is if we promise anything as a board that we can't live up to. There's too many variables in our lives. I appreciate the union and their understanding of our situation as well, and they're being financially prudent and helping the district in some of the plans that we've had, and taking very minimal raises over the last few years in order for us to maintain this flat budget. I also think that there's a lot of unknowns with crapshoot, health insurance costs and things like that. There's just too many unpredictable things that that we need to have in the back of our minds and plan out, not just to get through this short-term general fund deficit, but also to look 30 years down the road on what's going to set the district up best for the future. And I think we need to have not only the short-term vision, but the long-term vision for the health of the district as well. And so I just am concerned about promising anything that we can't live up to as a district and as a board.
I took this into account with this letter, and I kind of took away any promises. What I tried to do is just say, here's the situation. No conclusions.
Yeah.
I
Trustee Graves.
sort of perused the letter, and I don't think there's any, promises in here. It's that the board's goal is to work towards balancing the budget, the general fund budget, to avoid a deficit. I think it's just sort of laying out the situation to sort of put it out there. I don't think there's any promises one way or the other that work. I don't think there's any promises in it. So I think it looks good.
Trustee Baker?
Vote.
Just to reiterate, I agree with basically most of what's been said by the other board members. I don't know that anybody ever talked about promises, but I know that setting goals and having a vision, which is the board's job, is going to be very important, and making sure that what those goals are clearly stated so that people are not surprised by anything that's going to happen in the next couple of years. And, I would reiterate that if we're going to look at making cuts or reducing our expenditures, should that be a primary goal? I wouldn't want to have to go to the community and the taxpayers to go for a levy in the next couple of years under these circumstances, when the idea would be to do that only as a last resort, only if necessary. That's my idea about it. That's my vision for the district. That would be a last resort only. And, yes, I think the budget needs to be passed the way it stands at this point, with what Trustee Graves and Squirrel said, with the exceptions of we're expecting it to be underspent. And we're expecting any cost cutting that can be possibly done, because that's just that much less that needs to be done in these 2 years. So anywhere we can start saving in this current budget would be fantastic, and that should be, if we're all in agreement, then that that should be the directive forward to the administration, that that's what the expectation is, and that's what the goal is. Not promise, it's the goal. So I think that's very important, and I think it is important to communicate this to the community so that we're constantly talking about it and preparing people for what's coming down the pike, and there's no surprises. And we're open and forthright with what our status is, what our financial status is, as well as what our goals are to be able to deal with that. And then also, going back to something Trustee Portal said with regard to the financial advisory committee, that's something that they could look at and work with administration, being top business leaders in our community and having that financial experience, working with our administration and making recommendations to the board this next year about where possibly some of those cuts could come in at. I think would be a very positive step that's working with our community by using that committee that reports to the board. So I'm very much in favor of that. And I also support the letter. I think it's important we have that done. And that we communicate information and where we stand with things.
All right, further discussion?
Chairman Gang, would you mind to ask Kathy if maybe we have the volume turned up as loud as it can be on the
Okay.
cell phone? She maybe needs to get closer to
It's
that.
hard to hear you.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you. Kathy, did you hear that?
Yes. Do you have the volume on that machine turned up all the way?
We have it turned up as loud as it can, and that's a little better than what it was previously, so.
Yeah, you're better. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just make sure that the microphone is right next to my mouth.
So. All right. Well then, if there's no further comment, do I hear a motion to pass the 2015-16 budget as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Trustee Clayton?
Aye.
Trustee Graves?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartle?
Nay.
Trustee Baker?
Aye.
Trustee Benyon? Aye. Budget passes 4-1. So, sorry about that. Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the annual budget hearing?
Can we have a discussion for a minute?
About?
Well, are we going to talk about whether we're going to send this letter? Or does that have to be a vote, or is that something, an agreement that we are in favor of?
I guess I do not know the correct procedure for that. Can we talk about that and do that under the
Just an agreement.
budget?
You can talk about it there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can all say, yes, you're willing to sign it, or you can say no when some of us aren't, and you can discuss it more, wherever you lie.
Okay. Trustee Graves?
Okay, I have one more discussion that I forgot to add because we started talking about something else, but it's okay to have it afterwards. I've been thinking a lot about the environmental camp and the Rose Camp, and I know that it was not in this budget, but I've been looking into it a lot, and hours, and what it entails and everything else. And where are my notes on it? Oh, no. So I had notes on it, but I don't now. But what I've really come down to is this is something that's one of a kind within our district because of the magnitude, the size, the scope of the whole project. And I started sort of looking into the different hours spent, but we have lots of different programs and different away field trips that take away teachers' time and times away from their families. We have them all over from Cary up to Hemingway. So, but really the difference about Rose is it's 200 plus kids, and it's every single child that goes to Rose, all the kids that have, need special services, kids that don't have sleeping bags, kids that have never been away from home, at the 6th grade level. So I really feel that That is the difference about this camp. I'm not quite sure it's the hours, but it's the magnitude and scope of it. And I really feel that a supplemental contract should be looked into in the future for this camp for those reasons.
Can I just clarify one thing? They have 100 kids at a time. They split the class in two.
Right.
And there's 15 to 19 adults with those 100 kids at a time.
Right.
So it's the ratio is about the same as, or better than many of our other away trips. So
Right. Yep.
just make sure that's clear.
I understand that. But I think it's just the planning that goes into it with that amount of kids and the planning that goes into every level of the curriculum, that, you know, the camp embodies the whole curriculum. So I think it's just that magnitude of the program and planning the whole program that's different than some of the other trips that are field trips that are taken and overnight field trips that are taken. So, and that's all I want to say about that.
All right. Trustee Baker.
I would agree with Catherine. I would take it a step further to say that the difference being with your just chaperoning versus you're actually writing curriculum, you're executing curriculum, it's tied to a classroom, multidisciplinary setting. You're not just chaperoning. And this is a rich experience that we value as a community and as a district. And there's a few others that are similar to this, but not very many, that's not extracurricular, that is part of the classroom. And I think that having and we've done it for, you know, there's a large difference in what people say how long we've done it, but I think everybody should agree at least 15 to 25 years, somewhere in that range.
I think 40's been thrown out there.
Yeah, and so I think that it is absolutely appropriate to do that. And if there's a couple other, like the Yellowstone trip is one, it's a very similar circumstance. That those are the kinds of things that we do create contracts to pay for. It is above and beyond. It's not even close to a regular school day. The expectations, the needs that are being met in the woods. It's a very different experience, and so I would be fully in support of doing that.
Trustee Schwartle.
Shirley, did you do this environmental camp?
Never.
You were at the middle school, but you did
I
something?
was at
Okay, just wondering.
Okay. Further comments? All right. And you wanted to talk about the letter as well?
I think we should, you know, send it out. It's just, you know, a very, just tells it the way it is. It doesn't make any promises. It's got some goals in it. I don't think there's any absolutes in it. It's just talking about the situation that we're going to be facing in a couple of years. So.
Yeah, I think it seems accurate and transparent. I think I'm fine to sign this letter and send it out.
I tried to take in your input and John's.
I think it's great.
I appreciate the work and the effort that you went into crafting this and working with me on this, and I appreciate your time and effort on that. Trustee Baker, do you have the copy of the letter in front of you?
I agree with the letter.
Oh, she does.
Okay.
Does she have the latest one?
That's a good question. She basically has it. There might be
Okay.
been a couple of
Okay.
changes.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. With that, I see support for the letter. Any further discussion? Do I hear a motion to adjourn the annual budget hearing?
I'll make that motion. I'm going to make every motion.
Have at it.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, annual budget hearing adjourned, and I'd like to welcome you to our regular June board meeting. Thank you for staying tuned. At this time, I'll ask, are there any additions, corrections, modifications to the current agenda?
I have two amendments to the agenda. They're both additions. The first one would be Section 7, under business, under new business. It would be item D, Blaine County School District draft policies for review. The board has already received 3 policies for review. These are an additional 4 that came from the policy committee meeting that was just held, after board packets went out. So I put those onto they'll also be on the screen here.
Okay.
Because I knew, you got to look at them. But, and then the second addition or amendment is in Section 9, decisions, and that will be in consent agenda item A, and it's a rescission of a 1-year leave for the purposes of child rearing during the 15-16 school year by a certified employee.
All right. Do I hear a motion to accept the additions as noted?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. She's too fast.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Trustee Schwartle that stepped out to grab some different glasses. And we will continue on with accolades.
Okay, we have a nice group of them tonight. First of all is Tony Randall. Is he hanging out in the hallway still? Hi, Tony. Come on in and let us see your face. This is for Tony Randall, who is the Wood River Middle School and High School band teacher. Mr. Tony Randall loves kids and he loves music. He believes strongly that music helps to make a person well-rounded and leads to success in other areas. He teaches 0 hour, 4 to 5 days a week to provide opportunities in jazz, Dixie, and percussion. He teaches band and guitar at the high school in the morning and then 3 additional periods of band at the middle school in the afternoon. Initially, his schedule did not allow for the traditional prep period, and he was compensated for his prep time. Later, a decision was made to combine 2 classes at the middle school in order to provide prep time. When this schedule was not successful at the middle school and the classes were split back into 2, which he prefers, there was discussion about eliminating guitar at the high school. Mr. Randall advocated for keeping the guitar course in place, waiving any expectation that his salary would increase. He also volunteers a week of his time for Dixie Music Camp during the summer, in addition to practice and performance in the July 4th parade. On top of all of that, for several years, Mr. Randall has volunteered his time to offer a popular after-school jazz class at the middle school on Monday afternoons. When the band or drum line shows up to support a sporting event, parade, or celebration, people are glad to see him. It takes a lot of commitment and love, and Tony quietly provides this every day, submitted by Michelle Randall. So thank you, Mr. Randall, for leading the band for us. And our next accolade is for Jesse Neat. Oh, he's hiding back there. I was going to say, I thought I saw him earlier. Stand up. Come on, we want to see your face. He is the Wood River High School teacher and the JV baseball coach. Our entire family feels that Jesse Neat should be recognized for his selfless contribution as coach for the junior varsity baseball team at Wood River High School. He is a shining example of the type of athletic coach that parents hope will be influencing their children. He takes the time to instruct players on their mistakes as soon as they happen in a very positive and encouraging way. He encourages respect, teamwork, and grit, and he's a wonderful role model for our kids at a crucial time of their lives. A good coach reminds us that it's not just about winning or losing, but having the fortitude to compete with your best effort that stands the test of time. Jesse Neat does this very well, and our children are lucky to have him. Submitted by Sandra, Rick, and Evan Hasselbacher. And evidently their children have not had you as a teacher, or they would have written that up too, because that's a very stellar thing that he does. All right, this is for a whole team. This is the Silver Creek High School staff. Adam Porth, I saw him earlier. Where's Adam? All right, stand up, Adam. Tor Top, where's Tor? Is he not here tonight? Julie Berry, Sean Huntington, Kelly Choma, I saw her, Mike Glenn, Bridget Christensen, and Desiree Kelly. All right, well, you two will have to take it back for them. Last time I was in an adventure with Tor, I ended up in the ditch, in the mud. It wasn't Tor's fault, though. The entire staff at Silver Creek High School is to be commended for their commitment to success with every single student. This has been a difficult school year as they transition to a big picture school. They have been learning to fly the plane while it is in the air. They've hosted many visitors from other schools and authorities from the State Department of Education who are curious to see how it works while figuring it out as they go along. The idea of learning through experience, or internships, has connected many students to job skills and sometimes even paid employment. Many community members have remarked how polite and at ease students are when having adult conversations. The staff are to be commended for having the courage and fortitude to see through the commitment to excellence despite all the forces working against them. Working through the logistics of accountability while working with the most at-risk students in the district has been difficult and stressful, but they cheerfully model perseverance and high expectations. Their enthusiasm and compassion for at-risk students are amazing. Students who were disengaged or even dropped out of school have become engaged and excited to be pursuing their interests and passions. Not only does the staff work hard to inspire learning, they also do whatever is needed to see that students' basic needs are met, that they are clothed, fed, housed, nurtured, and cared for. Their commitment to restorative practices and building relationships has dramatically reduced discipline incidents. I had the honor and privilege to act as Silver Creek High School's interim guest social worker during the spring semester. I am so impressed with all that they have accomplished with few resources. Their success shows that they are doing everything for the right reasons, and they are truly having a lasting positive impact on the lives of these students. Submitted by Janet Dennis. Thank you, Silver Creek team. Journey, do you have any comment on that? That's your team.
I definitely agree. I love Silver Creek, and I think it's helped a lot of students succeed.
And the next one is for Janet Dennis. They love you too there. She was the interim social worker when we are required by the state to have a social worker at the alternative school, and our other one was out on medical leave. So Janet, this letter says, come on Janet, stand up. I see you hiding back there. Dear Board of Trustees and Dr. Holmes, it is with deep gratitude that we submit this accolade for Janet Dennis. Beginning in January, Mrs. Dennis has served as Silver Creek High School's interim social worker. Silver Creek educates many unique Blaine County School District teens who are challenged with various concerns, including homelessness, parenthood, substance abuse, depression, academic defeat, behavioral and social frustrations, etc. Our students come to Silver Creek because they need a supportive and safe environment. Since joining our school family, Mrs. Dennis has run student groups, met with students one-on-one, facilitated restorative practices, collaborated with staff and families, secured services for students, and attended important meetings outside of school hours. Her eagerness to help our students and families with high integrity has not gone unnoticed or unappreciated. Our students have found her approachable, supportive, dependable, patient, and kind. Mrs. Dennis is truly a master of her trade, and we are so thankful for her. It is a great day to be a dragon. Sincerely, Silver Creek High School staff. Thank you. And our next accolade is for our board chairman, Sean Binion.
This wasn't on the agenda.
No, Lori and I were in cahoots, so you wouldn't know this was coming. Dear Mr. Silva, and this is Tim Silva at Sun Valley. One of your employees, Sean Binion, is also the chairman of the school board for the Blaine County School District. The Blaine County Education Association, which is the teachers union, recently had negotiations with the school district for next year's contract, and Mr. Binion was the school board's representative. We met on 2 Thursdays in a row and 2 Fridays. The Thursday meetings went from 3 to 8, and the Friday meetings went from 8:30 to 4. While the negotiations went well, there were definitely times of tension, and it was very difficult. After we completed negotiations, we all went out to lunch. I was sitting next to Mr. Binion and asked him how he was able to miss work. He told me very quietly that he took vacation days. I was blown away by this admission. Mr. Binion is so dedicated to schools in our valley that he used his own vacation days to participate in negotiations. I find that beyond admirable. Mr. Binion also spends so much time reading and participating in meetings as a board member that he basically has 2 full-time jobs, though being a board member is purely voluntary. This is not something he speaks about. It's just something that's important to him, and so he does it. I wanted you to know what an amazing employee you have in Mr. Binion, someone who cares so much about the kids in our valley and gives so much to our community. Sincerely, Scott Slonim.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the kind letter by Mr. Slonim and all the support. Thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
You need Catherine to take over for a little while.
Speech.
No, I appreciate all the work the rest of my fellow trustees do. They put in a lot of time and effort as well, and I'd like to recognize them also. So thank you for the, at times, thankless task, but thank you very much. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up the public comment section of the meeting, and I haven't received any at this time, but out of courtesy, I'll open it up. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward with the superintendent report.
Okay, first item is the strategic plan action plans to get us started on the goals. As you saw in reviewing them, they are basically beginning steps on researching things and investigating things and inquiring into different areas that each of the subcommittees was interested in. But before we get started, I need to say a public thank you once again to all the many participants who participated in this process. And in meeting 1, we had 474 participants. In the survey 1, we had 437 participants. Meeting 2, we had 398 participants. Survey 2, we had 22 participants. And meeting 3, the ones that were just held, we had 448 participants. And that last meeting was for the community to provide Critical Friends feedback on the beginning steps. So as you know, later on in the agenda, you're going to be asked to approve these steps. And under each, we will get it posted on the web page under the strategic plan so that the public can see it too. It's been a race with the board meeting being moved up a week to have it prepared. But under Goal 1, in wanting to inspire our students to have intellectual curiosity, there are 4 major pieces or objectives that they're working on. And first of all is to make sure that there are purpose and relevant experiences for all of our children in education, such as things with our community partners, mentors, careers, community service, that kind of thing. Developing a culture of positive relationships is the second big nugget under that. The third one is student autonomy and creativity, so that such things to be explored that could be offered possibly are things like Genius Hour, which by the way, I attended a Genius Hour presentation at the middle school yesterday. It was fabulous. A multitude of presentation formats, so students have different ways of sharing their learning, and reflection and self-assessment opportunities for students. And the fourth big nugget under Goal 1 is outdoor opportunities, and the first steps on that would be to investigate and evaluate what current things we have in place and what might be possible for the other ones. So then Goal 2, which is our goal of engaging students through relevant and real-life experiences. They have 4 big nuggets under theirs, and you will see that some of these nuggets are the same or almost the same as the nuggets under Goal 1. And in a minute, I'll speak to how I think could best handle that so we're not duplicating each other's work and efforts. But the first big nugget is to establish a measurement framework, because this is the engagement one, and that's something that we have never measured before, just like Inspire is something we've never measured before. How do we measure that students are engaged? The second objective would be student voice and choice, such as digital portfolios, self-reflection, data monitoring, and student-driven projects. And if you listen to the Objective 3 under Goal 1, you see that these are very closely aligned. So those are two that we don't want to duplicate each other's efforts on it. Objective 3 under Goal 2, or the third big nugget, is to make sure our kids are have experiences with authentic, real-world life experiences. Once again, through community partners, project-based learning, mentoring, family involvement. Once again, that matches one of the objectives under Goal 1. And then Objective 4 is the quality learning experiences, our refinement of our teaching practices. Goal 3 is to educate our students so that they have strong foundational skills and strong analytical problem-solving skills. There are 5 big nuggets under that. The first one is to align our curriculum and assessments. The second one is to improve our instructional strategies from one end of the continuum to the other, so that we are reducing the number of students that need remediation services and increasing the number of students participating in advanced opportunities. The third nugget or objective is a parent and community academic support, fostering more of that. Objective 4 is a comprehensive assessment plan, so that we have we're not duplicating things, we're not over-assessing in some areas, and not even dipsticking in other areas. And the fifth one is to clarify and develop the measurement framework for the goal. Then our fourth goal is to empower students to make positive choices. They have 5 big nuggets under that one to get them started. First of all is some work with staff for awareness for all of us to understand what supports are there and how to help students who are having mental health or substance abuse issues. This is along the idea that we're not all going to be experts in this area, but we have enough expertise to find the experts and get them to the experts and know when a problem is occurring. Objective 2 is to align a pre-K to 12 social emotional curriculum. Currently, we only have one at the elementary school. Objective 3 is secondary substance prevention and intervention. Objective 4 is a tracking system for how do we monitor which children are involved in extracurricular and which children are providing community service, so we have a better feel for that. A couple times this winter we tried to figure that out, and we were literally going to club facilitators and stuff and trying to get them to list everybody who came to the clubs because we didn't have a good tracking system. And then the fifth one is to develop and implement a PBIS system, which stands for Positive Behavior Intervention System. So how do we create expectations for positive behavior and celebrations around that so you don't have to deal with the negative behaviors? So the next steps on this, once it is approved tonight, is to get it cleaned up even more so and get it on the website, to submit that link on the website to the State Department of Education before August 1st, which we are to have that to them for. And then one of the big tasks this summer would be to identify people, point people and facilitators. And so, for example, when we had some of these objectives that were pretty similar, like Goal 1 and Goal 2 has some overlapping objectives, rather than appointing a person to facilitate objective on Goal 1 and somebody else to facilitate the same objective on Goal 2, have the one person facilitate it so that we are working in parallel and taking those ideas together rather than running around duplicating each other's work. The exciting thing to me is that we had subcommittees that came up with very similar ideas. So I feel like that's good, strong vetting of what our community is saying to us. Then on September 3rd, Sir Ken Robinson will be here to help us kick off the school year. His latest book is Creative Schools. If you guys have not heard him, Google Education's Death Valley and watch his TED Talk. He'll have you crying with laughter and crying with his statement on the current state of our public schools type of thing. But he'll be here to help us start thinking about what does this mean to all of us as we try to inspire, engage, educate, and empower our students. And then on September 4th, we actually begin the work, everybody across the district, of making this start to come to life. And then I would recommend that every 6 months we give a report to both the trustees and to our community at large. So that would be January of 2016 would be our first report to you. So that is that piece. And with your indulgence, I have 2 more pieces. Only one of them is not listed on the agenda. It's a last-minute surprise. No, I will not embarrass you, Chairman Binion. But you have the report in there for Silver Creek. Silver Creek was granted a waiver this year by the State Department of Education that rather than to do seat time, to have to account for so many hours of a child sitting in a seat for every academic subject area, they are now able to verify that students have mastered the content and move on. So if the student already has mastered it and can verify it immediately, they move on. If they haven't and it takes them 10 hours, fine. If it takes them 100 hours, fine. Whatever it takes to be able to show that they have mastered it. So the state has asked for yearly reports. You'll see the first one with a lot of pieces missing because we are still waiting for our state scores to come back. But I did want you to, because this will go to the state Department of Ed before July 1, and since this is our only board meeting between now and then, we wanted you to at least know a little bit about what was going in. Some of the things that they are reporting on are the number of suspensions and expulsions, and so you can see they have had 19 suspensions this year. Their goal is to reduce that in half by next year. Attendance is one of their focus areas. You can see that the number of students with more than 30 absences has dropped significantly. We now have kids with still too many absences, but at least we're getting down under 30, and so that's one of the things they will continue to work on next week. One of the pieces they want to measure is the engagement of their students. I believe a survey was just given, but you don't have the results back yet, so we should get that soon, and that'll be an interesting survey to look at to see if that's something we want to use with the whole district. And the only achievement scores that they have at this time are their COMPASS scores, which is college admissions assessment, and you can see that in there that we're doing fairly well with writing. We definitely need to improve our students' performance in math so that they are college ready in math. But this is just to give you a preview, so when this is submitted, we'll send you the final copy when we get it, but when it goes to the state board, you'll know what is happening. And then the last one is hot off the press, data as of this morning, but we want everyone to celebrate with us. At the beginning of the year, one of the things that we set as a district improvement area that we identified with our data is that our English language learners, especially those who were at levels 3 and 4, when you're starting to master academic English instead of just the playground English that allows me to handle the lunchroom and the bus and all that kind of stuff, but academic English, we set goals to improve the number of students that we moved from 3 into 4 and from 4 into 5. And so you'll see it, the charts 2 and 3 you have already seen before. That's in our State of the District report. But we got our results for this year. We significantly increased the number of students that moved from 3 to a 4 by 63%. And our goal was to make it 60% this year, so we surpassed our goal slightly. And then to move from 4 to 5, 43% of them we moved. Our goal for this year was 45%, so we didn't quite meet that goal. But we thought both of those were stretch goals. We wondered if we dared go public with them. We did, and we did it. And this is a huge, huge shout out to all of the educators across Blaine County. We've worked hard on this all year, talked about academic language, talked about all of us becoming language teachers. Some of us have started working with WIDA tools, and it's happening. So a huge thank you to the Blaine County educators.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Any comments from the board?
No, it's great to hear that. Great news that goals were set.
Starting to make them.
Starting to make them, so that's great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that report.
Thanks for putting together your action plan, because I would say that that went from what would have been considered publicly as a really messy process into a pretty cohesive, well thought out, goal-oriented document. So thank you for pulling all that together and being inclusive and producing a good product that's actionable.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and move into the board chair report and turn the time over to Journey for the student board representative report.
All right. So last week, Cary had their graduation. That went well. And all of the seniors actually got accepted into colleges. So that's quite an achievement for that school, and it's pretty cool. He also, the principal wanted to thank everybody who attended the graduation. So thank you. Silver Creek is graduating this Friday at 1 p.m. and I'm really excited for that.
That includes Journey, for those of you
Very
that don't
close.
know.
Yes. And then, yeah, we're just wrapping it up. I really got to shout out to Big Mike, because Big Picture was a great idea. I loved it, and I hope the students that continue to go to Silver Creek will enjoy it more. So, Wood River High School also has their graduation on Friday. I think it's at 6 o'clock?
7.
7 o'clock? Okay, so it's at 7 o'clock, and that's all the news I have for Wood River. Well, they had finals, and pretty sure they're almost finished with that, so thank you.
All right. I appreciate that report, and congratulations on the upcoming graduation. It was a pleasure to sign your diploma. So with that, we'll kind of move on into the board committees. And really it was just going to be a discussion. Trustee Graves and I, as we were putting the agenda together, wanted to really take the time to thank the members of our public, members of our staff, our board, for taking time out of their busy lives to assist us as trustees on those committees. We've had a plethora of committees this year. With the addition of the financial committee, we've had the financial committee, the policy committee, wellness committee, the strategic plan steering committee, all of the strategic plan subcommittees. Am I forgetting any?
Safety committee.
Safety committee. There's been a lot of time and effort put in, and we as a board really want to thank you for putting in the time and the effort, for being focused on our youth and how you can help. With that, as far as I know, those committee commitments were for 1 year, and so committee members have the option whether they choose to stay on or whether they choose to take some time off from those committees. And as board members, we need to be cognizant of that, because at our regular July meeting is when we appoint board committee members, both within the board as well as from within the community at large as well. So just to keep that in mind, check in with your appointed people to those committees and see if they're willing to continue on to serve, and if not, look for a replacement, please. So, I don't know, Trustee Graves, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, just, thank you to everybody. I think you did a great job thanking everybody, but I'd like to send out a thank you to all the staff and community members as well, because it does take a lot of time to go to the meetings either every month or twice a month, and we really appreciate it, because we're all in this together and to work together. So thank you.
I just want to say one other
Trustee
thing about
Schwartle.
the financial committee. This was the first year. I think we got our feet wet, and I just am so grateful that people stuck with it, and I think that there's a really bright future for that committee ahead, and I just wanted to say, first year is never that easy, so thanks for sticking with it.
All right. Sounds good. And for the announcements, as Journey mentioned, we have Silver Creek graduation, June 5th at 1 p.m. at the Performing Arts Theater. We have the Wood River Middle School 8th grade advancement ceremony, June 4th at 8:30 a.m. Last day of school is June 5th. It's an early release, 3 hours. Wood River High School graduation will be June 5th at 7 p.m. Our annual meeting and regular July meeting will be the 14th of July, as we have scheduled. And then we as a board also have the opportunity to attend the ISBA Summer Leadership Institute, and that's for new board members, existing board members, new board clerks. Superintendent's going to go with us. We've heard from everybody as of yet, with the exception of Trustee Schwartle, and we'd love to have you join us as well. It's July 15th.
So the day after our board meeting.
Yeah, day after our board meeting, and it's from 1 to 6 p.m. down in Jerome.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
Get everybody registered.
excellent, excellent. And then, as Liz mentioned, or excuse me, Trustee Schwartle mentioned, our financial committee got their feet wet, and we appreciate all their service. And they are suspended meetings until we assign them new projects and tasks to do, which I believe we'll be looking at doing, starting up again in the fall would be my guess. So, all right. With that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Ms. Angie Martinez, Director of Curriculum, Teaching, and Learning.
All right. Tonight's curriculum report is focusing on Wood River High School advisory and specific to conducting a program review and making some curricular decisions. The middle of the year, we formulated, or formed, I should say, an advisory and social emotional learning curriculum committee. And they are from Wood River High School. We have the social worker, the counselors, we have all the administrators and teacher representatives who are on what is known as the advisory leadership team at the high school. I want to thank Keith Nelson and Julia Graft who are helping present tonight, and I'll thank the rest of the committee members at the end of tonight's presentation. Our main task was to investigate ways to strengthen the Wood River High School advisory, and we specifically looked at 3 things. The first is that we wanted to address prevention and wellness through advisory. We also want to address college and career preparation through advisory, and then really focus on building positive relationships and building a positive school culture. For the work that we did, we divided into kind of 2 big tasks. The first, which will present the first part of our presentation tonight, is to review the structures of advisory and talked about what kinds of curricular decisions we needed to make. And then we will spend the second part explaining how we had made some decisions about a social emotional learning curriculum that we'd like to include in advisory for next year. And so the PowerPoint is very heavy in its text. It is intended to be your board report. So our presentation is just going to highlight some of those key points. And so we're going to start with Mr. Nelson explaining how we articulated and refocused the purpose of advisory.
Okay, again, there's a lot of text here, but some of the big things that I wanted to focus on were advisory originally started off to help us build relationships with our students and to help them succeed. So I think that started off very well, and this is actually our Restart 3.0, and I think this year we've got it down. It's been a process of learning for everybody. But I think that our advisory that we've come up with, the purpose at this point, really supports our new strategic goals, which are inspiring students, engaging students, educating our students by watching that we make sure they don't fall behind, and also empowering students to feel successful through really relationships and by finding teachers they can really go to. So advisory for us, our team really kind of prioritized a few things, and we did a lot of note-taking, and this didn't just come down to district office curriculum. We actually started this last year through the process of the teams that we had at the school. But the things that boiled out of those meetings that we had at the school, trying to find out what were the problems, what were some of the roadblocks that we had were, and then some of the goals that we had were academic success and helping students make healthy life choices. We wanted to have a formal structure as well as a way to monitor student progress. We wanted to be able to include some time in there for our college and career counseling to prepare students for, we call it college and career counseling, but I think of it more as post-graduation success. And then with our International Baccalaureate Middle Year program, we included, which is a big part of it now, our 10th grade personal project, which they can start, I believe, at the 9th grade year, correct? Yeah. And that personal project also includes the seniors, which we got our permission from the state, even though we don't get to cut out our 990 hours of seat time, but we can use our personal project as the senior project, which we appreciated being given that waiver. I think one of the more important things that we actually do is maybe this point right here is it builds healthy, and I don't point this at Jed's flying over, by the way. It builds really a healthy social, emotional, and behavior skills, and I think it does that through relationships that we can build with the teachers. The students actually get to know each other. We try to keep our advisories down to 15 or 16 or 17 students. All the teachers participate. We have connections with those teachers and the community, which I really appreciate too. We've got the advocates that come in, we've got the WOW projects that come in. Those are some of the connections that we made. We also provide students with a teacher who can offer a mentorship program throughout their high school career so they know them. And I think one of us will talk about the rollover, so that teacher will actually see most of those same students for the 4 years, which is really unusual for the high school when you trade from class to class to class based on grade level. Students then, we hope, can connect with each other as well, so we're not forcing them to become friends with that group of advisory students, but it's amazing how students will kind of gather and congregate. And one of our big hopeful goals is to create a more positive school culture, which I think we've done. Even with this restart, I believe that we've done that.
Once we defined the purpose, we had to define kind of how that would be structured in our school day and how, when we would do it and how we would do it. And so I'm going to just briefly summarize. On the how, we knew we needed a minimum of 60-minute time slot to achieve what Millie has done in the college and career. A lot of community members come in and help. A lot of those times we need a 60-minute block. When we looked at curriculum, 60 minutes seemed to be kind of the magic number in a lot of the lessons that had been designed for advisory. So 60 minutes we knew needed to be in there. Also in our research, the more points you have to contact with students, more contact points, the better in terms of developing relationships. So we've structured our new calendar at the high school, or the schedule at the high school, to have a 60-minute and a 30-minute over 2 days. So we can do grade checks and things. 60 minutes for the lesson, 30 minutes to kind of build and check their academic progress. As he mentioned, every teacher will have a class of a certified staff member, and then we will stay with those students for 4 years, which is, in the 2 years, you really kind of bond with the kids you have, so 4 years would be good.
All right, one of the things that we wanted to do is to generate what social emotional skills do we really want to capture through advisory, and that helped provide a lens for shopping for curricula, what would be out there to meet our needs and our interests. I want to just call your attention that there are quite a few. You know, it's a pretty wide range of skills, but some of them are interrelated and actually interconnected. Also that we have an interest in providing intentional support and practice on these skills through advisory. Advisory is a place to focus on these skills and for students to reflect on how these skills impact them beyond advisory into other areas of their personal and academic life.
So after we looked at what skills we wanted the kids, we to have. We looked at when would those skills be relevant, looking at what those students face at each grade level, and we kind of came up with a list of what's relevant and important for 9th graders, and then how do we build upon that over the course of the year. So 9th and 10th grade, it's the intro to high school, it's about healthy decision making, those kinds of things. When you get to the junior and senior year, on the next page, this is more post-secondary plans, career, college, as well as some of those social emotional components continue.
All right, so we just summarized how we reviewed advisory and talked about the structure and different curriculum topic focuses, and now we're going to explain what we decided upon as far as advisory and social emotional learning curriculum.
I think we're going way too fast. Mike had at least 2 hours last time for his PowerPoint, so. We started with 17 curriculum ideas that we reviewed, and we narrowed that down to just 6. And I highlighted them with yellow. School Connect, 180 degrees, let's say Emoja, whatever, Lion's Quest, Links, and one that didn't show up in there was Engaging Students. And just by, pardon me? Engaging Schools, okay, excuse me. So we narrowed it down to 6, and we did a kind of a process of elimination by looking at each of the 6 curriculum that were available, and we reviewed them as a group, as a committee, and the one that just kind of popped up at us happens to be free, which really goes along with our budget mandate.
We like free.
So we really like that one well, and you can see that we ended up with, by accident, we were just searching for high school advisory curriculum, and Links came up, which is designed, was built by the West Virginia Department of Education, and Dr. Barb Brady built it, and that was part of her doctorate dissertation. And we looked at it and we thought, well, gee whiz. And we also found it over in Nevada, so we thought, well, gee, maybe they're selling this thing, and we were prepared to spend any amount of money to find an advisory curriculum that worked. And after talking to her, she said, well, gee, Keith, this is free, and we would love to have you use it. We would love to be able to spread what we found, because it works in the entire state of West Virginia. And so we got that permission to do that. And I think that after everyone looked at it and the ability that we had to be able to change it, because that was what she gave us permission to do, change it, update it, use what we want, and we came up with that.
So Links, as he referenced, was her dissertation project. It is on the West Virginia Department of Education. We also found it in Nevada, although their district webpage is what they use for advisory curriculum. What we noticed is they do have it outlined by year, by grade level. There are lessons, I think 31 lessons. Sure. There are 31 lessons you can download. They're, at this point, I think a PDF, but we can get editable versions of these, so we can customize those to our plan based on the needs of our students. Links curriculum up under advisors. Links curriculum.
Oh.
Maybe.
And then there's so many resources.
High school comparison.
Oh, it was
Oh.
So the good news was a lot of the work had been done. The content of these plans also aligned with a lot of the curriculum we had reviewed and our personal objectives. So we selected it. And you can see this is how it's outlined, and our goal is to do something similar for our teachers so they can access it like this, and it's right there.
The training implementation, that's exciting for us. And the reason why I think it's exciting is after talking to Dr. Barbara Brady, she, on the side, said, well, even though I work full-time at the State Department, I'm willing to come out and I do a lot of training for school districts that are interested in using this program. Well, gee, we said that would be great for us, because we're trying to relaunch this, and she smiled and she said, I understand exactly where you're coming from. They've been doing this for about 10 years, and I think they went through the same process that we went through. Success, a little bit of success, and now we want to see some real success. So after contacting her, she was willing to come out, and we have a full day with her right after Dr. Robinson, or Sir Ken Robinson comes out. So Friday, the 4th, we'll have her all day long. And the way we split that up, she's very flexible, which is really nice. Is time with all staff to kind of explain the curriculum, where they came from. And I think we'll be able to figure out some of the problems that she encountered as well during that time. And then we'll have time with our advisory leadership team as well, which is the group that helped bring this whole thing all together. So we're pretty excited about that. And she's also going to bring, I believe, a recorder out to record these sessions so that anybody new coming into the district will be able to provide a videotape of what we saw, what we learned, and where we can go from there. We're going to consider it as an advisory talk rather than a TED talk, so I think it's going to work out pretty well.
All right, I just want to do a couple other key points. Julia said we're going to create something that's easy and accessible for staff. So we're going to create a Google site that will house all of the curriculum and all the resources. And we're going to use our advisory leadership team quarterly to go over professional learning and what would be expected in the next part of the unit. So some ongoing discussions. And I just want to thank, these folks for being so actively engaged since January in this project. Now, we do have a subcommittee that's going to be writing curricula. Those that are asterisk, that's myself, Julia, Laurel Douglas, and Millie Reedy. And then we're involving some community folks who participate as well. And now it's time for questions.
Questions?
Yes.
Actually, I have two questions. The first one is more about advisory, not the curriculum, and the second one's about the curriculum. So there's going to be a 60-minute, an hour, and then a 30-minute, and then a 30-minute is going to be checking their grades. Is that going to be sort of more for like academic advice, or if kids are not doing well, they can be steered into tutoring or supports or whatnot? I mean, I think that's a great idea to be able to catch things while they're early and to put in the supports when needed.
I think all of the above, to be quite honest.
Yes.
One of the things we noticed when we had just a one meeting time, if there was something that took that time away, we didn't get to connect with the students about their academics, so that 30 minutes really will give us that weekly check-in to offer support. I know I've made connections with teachers. A student is struggling, what can they do? Or find out if there's issues. So.
Right, so the advisory teacher might go to the math teacher and say, look at,
or shoot an email or talk to
something
the
like
student
that.
about what is going on. Here's some strategies you can try. What have you done?
Right. Exactly. And then my second question is, it looks like LINKS was a 5th through 12th program. Do you see this going down into the middle school? So, I mean, because in the strategic plan, it was a quick K through 12 aligned program. So do you
We'll definitely
possibly
take a look at it because we want the entire K-5 to be able to be connected and not disconnected from one another as we look vertically at the curriculum. So we'll take a look at it. We have not done anything with the middle school. We found that this is what we feel is the best and most appropriate for the high school.
Right.
And so it may lend itself also for middle school, but we're going to do our own research for the middle school as well.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Further questions?
I might just want to add that we want to protect that advisory time because we feel it's really important, especially for college and career. And especially on the second day, the 30-minute time is to really review the academic progress of our students. So I think we try to build a lot of things into that short. We had an 80-minute period or 75-minute period. So I think we're going to try to keep assemblies away from that, those sort of things, because this is so important that we stay really focused and committed to it.
What sort of ratios do you run in these advisories?
Say
Like faculty to student, what are the ratios of the advisory
15 to
period?
16. Yeah.
as the classes get bigger.
Oh,
You know, as
Yeah, I mean,
seniors, we have
like how many
smaller
kids are
groups.
in an advisory group? And what are
My
the-
current freshman teachers, the average is 17 to 18.
Okay.
Okay. Further questions, comments? We appreciate the work you did, and we're not going to complain that it's free.
It just takes man hours, but we need to have a lot of work to do to make it ours, and that will be taken care of over the summer.
Thank
Not a
you.
free thing. We
Thank-
don't pay publishers.
That's right. Thank you for your time and effort. So, okay, we'll go ahead and move in to the business portion of it and strategic action plans by Dr. Holmes.
We talked about those earlier in the report. Are there questions or anything that I can?
Are we voting on this?
Yes, it comes up
Yeah,
in, yeah.
it'll be in the decisions as well, but it's discussion
It's
here.
just if you want to have
Okay,
discussion
okay,
on it.
okay. So, yeah, I just...
Okay, Trustee Schwartl?
So, a couple of things. So Sir Ken Robinson is coming, and his whole thing is how schools kill creativity. I really hope that this strategic plan, I saw the word creativity on a few of the boards. I didn't see it in the plan as much as I would have liked to have seen it. I hope that this plan, I hope there's a paradigm shift that happens in our school district. I'm not sure in terms of not doing the same thing better, but doing things in a different way. And I think whether we get Daniel Pink to talk about autonomy, mastery, purpose, or Sir Ken Robinson to come in and talk about how schools killed creativity, I want to make sure we are actually listening to that and putting it into play. Because to me, that's a very important thing, that we're not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. This strategic plan, the action plans, I thought were okay. I heard them. I thought they were okay. I so appreciate the amount of effort that the staff put into it. There were times where I was just amazed by the amount of, this last one, the amount of stuff. There was over 100 comments, and they were trying to find, does this word agree with this word? And instead of the broader themes. So that's my only comment. I hope that we truly take to heart when we get these big, great paradigm-shifting speakers in here, that we actually put it into play in our strategic plan. So that's what I have to say.
All right, further comments? I will say, as we received the strategic plan this afternoon in an email, as I went through it, I did notice on under number 4, empowered, one of the things where we're going to be measuring was repeat offenders to ASAP, and I don't think we've passed that quite yet, so we might want to edit that out just a little bit until there's a set program that the board has approved. But other than that, I really appreciate the time and the effort and the condensed fashion that we were able to accomplish this in. We as a board knew it was going to be a extremely rushed process, and it went quick. And thank you for your guidance and leadership, and we appreciate the outcome.
May I ask a clarifying question? Because that was under the goals that were previously passed, is the number of repeat offenders to ASAP. And we could just say number of repeat substance abuse and not name a program.
I would be comfortable with that.
All right. Good catch.
All right. Anything further? Okay, we'll go ahead and move into the item B, Blaine County School District Policy 602.12, and I believe you're going to be talking about that. Trustee Graves?
Okay. Catherine? Yes, just to let all the board members know, in your paper folder packets, both the revisions of 602.12 are in there.
Yep.
Since we have one on the screen, and then you go down to the next one, at least you can have them side by side if you want to look at them in your paper.
Okay, so we actually have two class size policies. We have one that was presented at our last meeting with some changes done by Gwen Carroll. Do you want to go over this again?
That was just the notes that I took at the table as we were talking at the table, so hopefully I got them captured.
And then I worked on another policy with some additional, I guess, wording and information and some other conversations that we had had with the board, and here's the second policy here. I don't know if I should just read it. I don't know if people are, or if they can read it from there. I can't see them, but.
Would you like me to read it out loud?
Sure.
Okay. This is the policy 60212 regarding class size. The board considers the low student-teacher ratio to be vital for sound educational instruction. Oops. Sorry. And strong student-teacher relationships. The administration will make every effort to keep class sizes at educationally effective levels, taking into account the availability of qualified staff, facilities, and funds. Particular attention will be given to the composition of classes in terms of the age and abilities of the students, the subject matter to be taught, and any extenuating circumstance that, in the opinion of the teacher and building administrator, warrants special consideration. Due to the fluctuations in enrollment, number one, it is recommended that when a kindergarten, first, or second grade individual class size reaches 20 students, a certified teacher or a full-time paraprofessional be hired or reassigned. Number two, it is recommended that when a third, fourth, or fifth grade level individual class size reaches 25 students, a certified teacher or a full-time paraprofessional be hired or reassigned. Number three, it is recommended that when a secondary subject area class size reaches 30 students, a full-time teacher, certified teacher will be hired or reassigned. Number four, it is recommended that all classes that have safety concerns comply with the legal occupancy loads per National Fire Protection Association and International Code Council, based on 50 square feet per occupant in a lab or 60 square feet per occupant in a combination lab, lecture, or lab. And underneath number four, it said it is recommended that all secondary science lab classes shall not exceed 24 students. And B, it is recommended that all construction or shop classes shall not exceed 18 students. Number five, it is recommended that when a subject area average class size or a grade level average class size drops below 15 students, that a position be eliminated and a staff member be transferred or released. The exception to this recommendation is as follows. A, the Blake County School District prides itself in providing students with advanced opportunities and recognizes the value of intervention classes. Building leadership will work to ensure that these opportunities are provided to students. The need for additional teachers to provide these opportunities to students will be identified by administration, recommended to the superintendent, and brought before the board for consideration. Examples include, but are not limited to, advanced placement classes, dual credit classes, dual immersion classes, Read 180, and advanced classes at the middle school.
Thank you. You're welcome. So some of the changes from the original policy would be in, a little bit more of a paragraph, an introduction paragraph, and number four, about the safety concerns. We had a science teacher come and give some public comment at our last board meeting, and we thought that was a good idea to put that in here. And then a little bit more under number 5. That's it. And then this policy, the previous policy, one of them, both of them would be due to go to the policy review committee from here. This is not an action item.
Okay, Trustee Baker, you had a comment?
Yeah, as a co-author with Catherine on this policy, I wholeheartedly support it. I wanted to point out two other things. One being that in the first and second bullet points, it specifically says an individual class as opposed to an average class size. So that's a significant change. As well as the footnote period portion should be removed because it makes reference to that this was a directly transferred without modification from a negotiated agreement, and that would not be accurate. But other than that, I support submitting this to the policy committee for their review and support the language in it.
Further comments? Trustee Schwartz.
I just wanted to say thank you to Trustee Graves and Trustee Baker for working on this. It just covered everything, and I think that I think we should thank Matt Phillips, who came here and brought to our attention the situation with the lab, and I'm glad that that was integrated into this too. So thanks, you guys.
Dr. Holmes.
I have concerns on number 4 that we have picked out 2 specific areas of safety concerns, and there are many more. And so I don't know if we should list them all or if we should say such as or something, because I think weightlifting, culinary arts, other classes are also classes where there are safety concerns that need to be considered. And I don't want us to look like we're concerned about safety in 2 places but not everywhere.
Also, along with that, and I understand that these numbers for the secondary science and shop classes were primarily taken from the Wood River High School, but we also have other schools, and when you say all secondary science labs, that doesn't necessarily take into account, we don't know the lab capacities of the other schools either.
Well, then, I guess I like the recommendation of Dr. Holmes. We could say, such as, or for example, that would be one way to do it, or to think about what the Cary lab is.
Silver Creek has a lab too.
Silver Creek's lab, and find out what that square footage is, and we can figure it out. These numbers, they got back to me pretty quickly on what those numbers were.
Yeah, to me, I think rather than put those numbers right in the policy itself, I think that's more of the staff's, as they're aligning their classes, responsibility to make sure they're staying under that limit, and they know what those limits should be in each of their prospective schools. And so I would just say that the class sizes have safety concerns, comply with the loads per the National Fire Protection Association.
I guess we can agree to disagree on that.
That's fine.
So you want to strike out the 50 square feet and 60 square feet, or the just A and B?
Well,
those are given numbers, right?
Yeah, those are given numbers, but those are
keep down.
Yeah.
That's based on a specific school, not based on considering the other schools.
Yeah, the 60 square feet and the 50 square feet.
The recommendations are 50 square feet and 60 square feet. That's a national recommendation.
Yeah, for those 2 types of classes.
The volume of class size is defined only by a specific school.
Correct.
So that's not general enough, actually, for a policy to say this is that school.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That's good.
Trustee Schwartz.
It's not general. Could you just tell me what you meant by that? It's not general.
What I meant was, it says here 50 square feet per occupant in a lab, 60 square feet per occupant in a lab/lecture or lab. Those are recommendations. So when I go down and say it's recommended that a class size not exceed 24, so you're telling me that's pretty much 24 times 50. Do we know that in every building? We don't. But we do know 50 square feet and 60 square feet.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So if we say 24, how does that correlate to the 50 and 60? That's very definitive, but it could be specific. What if a building has 500 square feet? We put 10 kids in it. So that's not really within the recommendation. But it should be 10 kids if it's 500 square feet.
I see.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what Rob and I are trying to say, I think it just varies by the different schools that we have and the different labs and the facilities that we have. And this was written with the opportunity for the middle school and the high school. But I think we have other options outside of that that we need to be looking at as a board, not just those two locations.
I don't
Yeah, and the
think it-
concern, sorry, excuse me, go ahead.
I don't think it does consider the middle school. I have no idea what the square footage is over there. And I doubt if Mr. Peters has that off the top of his head either, but
But we do have the recommendation that's clear,
Right.
50 square feet and 60
Correct.
square feet.
Correct.
Those numbers are
Non-negotiable.
valid numbers, right?
I know we'll have about 30-some kids in a science class next year, easy, with that huge eighth-grade class. So there'll be a number of classes that are upwards of 30 in a science class. You get a teacher.
I mean, is this, or is this not this is a national recommendation, so if we want to break it, right?
This up here this is A and B are that recommendation, what it actually means, boots on the ground at the high school.
Right. But not necessarily carry through middle school.
or Silver Creek.
Or Silver.
Could there be a procedure that's added to this that we could add later that I mean, I think it's probably a good idea to come up with the different, the cooking, the culinary rooms, the
Weightlifting,
weight.
what are the other
Exactly,
safety
and
concerns?
really, with the safety concerns, figure out what the square footage and see what the occupancy load is, and then you have a procedure attached to that. Just so somebody doesn't have to figure it out all the time. And maybe that's already at the schools, I don't know.
I think if you figure it out and they keep it at the schools, their administration should be able to arrange their schedules accordingly.
Okay. I think the main thing is that this, I'm sorry to...
Oh, go ahead.
Is that this puts it on the radar in terms of what's needed.
Safety.
Yeah, I'm completely okay with adding that number 4 as far as the safety concerns. I think we need to be broad enough that it covers the gamut of everything, not try to narrow it down specific for each exact location.
Kathy? Kathy?
Yes.
I just want to make sure, because you and Catherine worked on this, if you're okay with that.
Well, I think it's very important to make sure that what regulations we're going to be following is included. I do think it gets difficult when you're talking about specific buildings. I do think that mentioning those codes is important and doing for example, these specific codes, and if there are others, even listing those or just making reference to them is fine. I don't know specifically about the 24 and how that applies. That could be a for example as well. Making reference so they understand how it's being applied. So you could say high school, for example, high school labs under this would be at this number within the current building. So then it's very clear what the expectations are.
So putting the word...
I just don't want to lose the specificness of it so that we all are clear as to what we're following and what the expectations are.
Can that be passed to the policy committee with that caveat, is just put something of for example in there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay, sending it to the policy committee. John has heard this discussion.
Why?
Why does this go to the policy committee?
Yeah,
Because
they
that's our
already
policy.
made their recommendation, and you're rewriting it, which is fine, that's what you should do. But you guys are making that decision now. I mean, I don't understand why it would go back to the policy committee.
I don't think
This
this has
one
been to the
hasn't been
policy
to-
committee.
This hasn't?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're just going to make your recommendations to the policy committee so they can make the recommendations back
So you
to
can
you.
provide feedback.
It's the way that it works, the
What-
policy committee works.
And as well
I'm
as,
just curious, I'm just trying to figure
But I mean, that's how we
out.
wrote it in the policy, is that if there's a revision in the policy, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying when the board is doing it.
and also just keep in mind that as per our negotiations with the Blaine County Education Association, when it goes back to the policy committee, that there's some ad hoc members that need to be there to be able to take a look at this policy as well.
Okay.
Trustee Baker?
Well, do we have consensus as a board that this is the direction we want to go, and that we can just get the details worked out in policy and then make sure we get the union's review of it?
They serve on the policy committee. They have.
Union has representation, but there's also some ad hoc members that will be on that policy committee for the review of this policy, 602.12.
Right, but do we have consensus as a board?
Yeah.
I guess is my question.
I'm hearing and seeing
Yes.
verbal consensus,
She can't hear the head shaking.
so, but we have consensus.
It's all on you,
Kathy.
Journey.
So,
Thank
Good
you.
with that?
okay. All right, moves us to District Policy 901.4, Rules and Regulations covering use of facilities. And that is also included in your paper packets, Board. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is something that Trustee Graves and Trustee Clayton, worked together on.
She polished it.
So this is this was a very difficult policy, the use of facilities. Is that in here? It is, it's right here. So
Mhm.
this one. And it went to the policy committee, who spent many hours on it trying to come up with priorities. And you could probably have 4 pages, because it's about all of the different facilities, fields, gyms. It's very difficult. So it came to the board, I don't know, 2 months ago, and we wanted to make some changes, and John said, we've already spent
Change it.
2-3 hours. So Rob and I said that we would look at this policy, and Rob had an initial go-through and made some changes, and then I started tackling it as well. And I really tried to do my due diligence, and I talked with a lot of different people about this and got their feedback, different clubs and groups and some staff members. Most recently, I spoke with Teresa Gregory, who is named as the Community Campus Building Coordinator in here, and she is going to be the one that is going to be basically
Making it happen.
making it all happen. So I spent about an hour with her yesterday to get her feedback on it, and we made a couple of changes. And I think with this policy, we've gotten a stamp of approval from Teresa. I sent it to John Rady, our athletic director, and he said, thank you. And so I took that as a go-ahead, that it all looks good. And so this is what we've got as the sort of our new facility, use of facility.
Any discussion?
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank Catherine
about it?
for fixing it all up. I think it's great.
You're welcome. It was.
Meets the needs of everybody, and she vetted it with as many people as possible. So
I tried
good
to,
with it.
because it wasn't easy, and there's a lot of different little nuances
Interest.
to it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know I'm saying thank you a lot here, but thanks for doing that.
Sure.
Because that was a topic that was very close to very many people, quite a few people's heart.
Not the biggest issue that we're dealing with right now, but it's going into policy, so you want to do the best that we can.
You're
Well, you
welcome.
started it. Yeah. You started it, and we. Okay.
All right.
So we action that next time?
It's later on in the agenda.
Oh, so we can action it tonight? Great.
Yes.
What's number 5?
Yeah, like, what do you mean subversive? Who's going to be the judge of subversive?
Where did you see subversive?
Oh.
On numeral 5,
Oh.
not Roman numeral.
You know, to be quite honest,
I
this
think-
was cut and pasted from the old one. All these different, most of it.
We worked on the prioritization.
I don't know.
If he asks
Teresa
the
Gregory.
question, he gets to figure it
She'll
out.
be the one that determines that. No, I don't know. Is this something that we should be?
Well,
I don't know, it just seems like a 1950s word, maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I can see a group that's like would that be the KKK or the Al-Qaeda, or is it just a group that, like...
No, good point.
okay, that can be,
Okay.
that can be discussed and disseminated, the exact interpretation of that, and we'll kind of move forward, I guess, with item D, new business, and we'll turn the time over to Mr. Blackman for the new policies that are coming up, all 6, 7, something like that of them.
John, I think we're starting with 43.1. Should we just bring them up one at a time?
Yeah, most of these are just clarification of language and compliance with Idaho code changes. So this just defines a little further what a non-certified personnel, and the reason for that is the fact that we have a new salary schedule for non-certified or classified employees. So we're defining that a little bit further. As you can see, highlighted down there is Idaho labor laws, the fact sheets. So it's just a clarification of language and the fact that 246-day plus employees shall be eligible for vacation leave and holiday pay on the compensatory time policy that was passed earlier this year. So this is a cleanup of language and other policies that were affected by that. These are just for your purview, by the way. But these all went through the policy committee.
So it's in the back.
They had a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah. This is the classified salary schedules. Again, this is placement on those schedules, which employees are eligible for that. So this is all tied to the classified salary schedule.
Criminal history checks?
Yep, this is criminal history checks, and again, this is something that's required by Idaho code to have in our policy. So this is basically the timelines and so forth, and what we're required to do, and the laws or the legal ramifications for certain convictions under Idaho code that would not allow us to employ somebody, and the duty to self-report.
Reporting is criminal
This
offense.
is the reporting piece right here. Again, all we changed here was some of the timelines were extended a little bit. Rather than 24 hours, it was 2 district business days. So if someone were arrested on a Friday and couldn't report within 24 to 48 hours, then it would give them 2 district business days in order to report. If something happened over a holiday, for example, when we weren't in session, then it would be reported when they got back. This is to avoid reading about it in the newspaper. So this is, again, the responsibility of the employee to self-report. Again, self-reporting does not mean an admission of guilt. That would have to follow through the court system. Everyone's allowed their day in court. And so, like it says on our applications, convicted, not charged.
Great.
Leaves, again, this is to clean up some of the language around premiums, insurance benefits. I'm trying to remember all of these. Is there anything prior to this one, or is this the whole policy? Or is there anything after it?
No,
No, that's the whole thing. It's rather short, just again, a cleanup of language. Regular status employee is anybody who's passed the probationary period and has entered into a regular status. It is in conjunction with policy 425.2 and 3.
vacation and paid holidays?
Again, this goes back to the compensatory time. So we were looking at how to make this as clean as possible. Again, you have the definition of a 246-plus day employee, and moving that to be able to report it in Skyward, so the compensatory time, so that we can report it in Skyward as hours, as opposed to days. Right now, we report in days, full days or half days.
Personal leave with pay.
This is just how they're accrued. Again, it's an update of language through Eberhard and Mackey reports. And it's also our rollover of unused personal days. So those are all negotiated items. Staff have 5 personal days they can roll to. That's all in this language.
So those are the 7 for review.
Yep. Any questions?
No, I just want to make a comment that I love the cover sheet that comes with all of these.
Does that help?
No, it really helps. It tells you, this is a new policy, this is an update, and it's really helpful when you're looking at it. So thank you for filling that out. It's working, at least for me, really well, and it helps me understand why it's being revised.
It's like a bill summary, that they do in the legislature. It's great.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for the policy committee and all their hard work. I know they had held 2 meetings this last month, garnering feedback on the homework policy as well, public hearing. So thank you for all your hard work.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry, intellectual property, are we?
That will be voted on.
Okay, because I need to.
Okay, we are more than...
Do we have a discussion about that?
Yeah, we can have a discussion during that vote, yes.
I'm wondering if you could just give us just a little couple-minute synopsis on how the homework hearings...
Is going?
Yeah.
Well, we had 2 hearings to garner input from the public. We have some input from students already on the survey and staff. So now we'll start looking at compiling all that data. It's a large job. This is the 3rd time that I've been involved with the revision of homework. So no, it's not. It's a big discussion. It's a big discussion. And now the next step is to really look at who the ad hoc members on that committee should be, and start putting that committee together. But this will take some time. This is not a quick, fix. This is something that really needs to be vetted well.
Has there been some good turnout from the community?
There's not as much as I would have hoped for. But it's tough. People are working and to make it there, on time. But we can always garner more. Okay. But we do have great input on the surveys from the students and staff and from the public. I mean, we've heard some of those comments, the same comments in public meetings here in the board. So we have a good feel for where people are at.
Great.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Trustee Graves for all her service on the board and for all the deep thought that you put into every decision. And I would just like to personally thank you for your service and enjoy your bike trip.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, John.
All right. That moves us to item E on the agenda, classified administrative salaries. And I should probably recuse myself. My father-in-law is a classified employee, and so I'll turn the time over to you.
I forgot what I was supposed to do.
The discussion is about whether or not they should get the same raises in teachers.
Okay, so the discussion is?
You want me to help you?
I'm going to pass this along to Greta, whether classified administrative salaries should get the same raises as teachers.
Normally when the master, it's my understanding that normally when the master agreement is approved on the same agenda, there is approval of the same changes in benefits and salary for the classified and administrative staff. We didn't do that on the last agenda. Blame it on your new superintendent. So it would be the same changes to the health insurance, which helped us keep the costs flat this year instead of having a 3% increase. And it would be the same salary increases if they were eligible to move steps and lanes. Am I in a lane state or a track state? Steps and lanes, and the 0.5. So it's just a conversation about whether you want to do that or not.
So in the past, I mean, this is what we've done in the past.
That is my understanding. Mm-hmm.
You know, past
That
years, but we're just doing it differently.
We just should have had it on the agenda last month, and we did not.
Got
So
it.
we need to
Okay.
take official action on it.
Got it. Okay.
And this increase is calculated into the budget that we just approved?
Yes.
This is not
Yes.
not an add-on?
No.
Okay, and this will be in our decisions?
Yes.
I just have kind of a question that would come more from the corporate world, and I know that it's an entirely, school systems are entirely different, but I understand the union is looking after the teachers. What if you have a non-certified staff person that that you don't feel is doing the right job for that type of raise? What is your personal opinion about that?
Well, all of our staff members, whether they're certified, classified, part of the association or not, if they're not performing their job satisfactorily, it's up to us to inform them of that, have conversations with them to support them in improving it, put together an improvement plan, and make sure that it's happening, or if not, after some attempt at this, then to take action and saying this is not working out.
Okay, so they're either gone or they're
They make improvement, correct. So.
And that's a big role of the administrators within the district, is to review these people and see how they're performing as far as their work product.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, any more discussion?
Just out of curiosity, what's the total amount of this increase?
Mike, can you tell us what the total amount is?
For administrators, it would be about $47,000, and for non-certified, it's about $346,000 total.
Could you say those two? 47?
47 and 365.
346.
346, sorry. Close.
And then certified was what was the amount for?
It was $427,000 for every 1%. So it was roughly $930,000.
Because they did
You
steps and lanes. He's talking steps and lanes movement plus the 0.5, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so each percent is, say that again, each percent that
Increase.
goes up, increase above the steps and lanes or including?
Well, the steps and lanes increase each year is about 3%. Not everybody moves every year, but overall it's about 3%. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Movement on the salary schedule. This certified salary schedule is about $854,000. Movement on the non-certified salary schedule is about a little less than $300,000. And the 0.5% would be the additional $40,000.
Okay, per percent, you're saying per percent range? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, because you just said 365 for classified, and is that?
346.
I'm sorry, 346. So that is this past year?
That's 3% plus the 0.5%.
And the 854 is 3% plus the 0.5% were certified.
The 854 was movement on the salary schedule, because there's
Okay.
about a third of the staff that are not eligible for movement.
Okay.
And then the 0.5% would be about another 200.
200.
Yeah, so it's about $1 million for
Okay.
certified.
Okay, so 1,054,000 for certified, to go up by 3% for everybody who gets the 3%.
Who's eligible.
Right, who's eligible. Plus the 0.5% was 347 for classified and 47 for admin. So just 1 year without doing anything, the automatic step up is about 1.5 million.
Yes.
Which is very helpful. Just because we've got, our revenues are not keeping up, so we need to make sure we're watching.
All right, I will open it up for the public comment section. I have not received any. Are there any public comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the decision portion of the agenda and start with the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda, the consideration of minutes, regular May board meeting, May 12th, 2015, special meeting, budget workshop, May 14th, 2015, special meeting of the board, May 20th, 2015, budget workshop, May 26th, 2015, permission to advertise for the sale of buses, certification of resident transfer of Lynn County students to Minidoka County, payment of tuition or transportation, acceptance of monthly financial report, payment of bills, consideration of personnel exiting and entering. And Ms. Kaufman, would you please read those?
Yes, on the classified staff exiting, Amanda LaChance, Administrative Assistant, District Office. Kelly Bizzuto, Administrative Assistant, Buildings and Grounds. Teresa McGoffin, Network Administrator in Technology Department. Diana Hardy, Special Education Paraprofessional, Haley Elementary. Under Classified, recommending for hire, Amanda LaChance, Clerk of the Board, District Office. Under Classified, coaching staff exiting, Kelly Sinnott, Soccer High School Assistant Varsity Girls Coach at Wood River High School. George Garza, Basketball High School Head 9th Grade Boys Coach, Wood River High School. Kevin Cortez, Football High School Assistant 9th Grade Coach at Wood River High School. Under Classified coaching staff recommending for hire, Matt Newhouse, Head Freshman Boys Basketball Coach, Wood River High School. Carolina Stevens, Head Girls JV Soccer, Wood River High School. Amanda Christ, Head Girls Varsity Basketball, Wood River High School. Sarah Meeks, Head Cheer Coach, Wood River High School. Trina Middlestat, Assistant Cheer Coach at Wood River High School. And Megan Gunn, Assistant Coach, Girls Soccer Varsity, Wood River High School. Under Certified Staff exiting, Kathleen Mardian, full-time dual immersion teacher, English at Alturas Elementary. Eliana Sandoval, full-time bilingual Spanish dual immersion teacher at Alturas Elementary School. And Julia Graft, full-time history teacher and IB coordinator, Wood River High School. Under certified staff, recommending for hire, Teresa Uritia, full-time special education base teacher at Wood River Middle School. And Molly Lansing, and this is just a rescinding of a leave of absence, full-time Latino service coordinator, Student Services Department. Under administrative staff, recommending for hire, Teresa McGoffin, Director of Technology in the Technology Department, and Julia Graft, full-time assistant principal at Wood River High School. Now, because the budget was passed, the following go into play. Under classified staff, recommending for hire as a new position, Olga Maza Santos, District Translator, interpreter, and community campus. Under certified staff, recommending for hire, new position, Cecily Torres, full-time school social worker, Silver Creek High School. Christine Leslie, half-time drama teacher at Wood River Middle School. Catherine Thorpe, full-time E&L teacher at Wood River High School. We also have a new position. An offer was made today, pending acceptance, tomorrow morning, I believe. Full-time Spanish teacher at Wood River High School. The name is not put in there until she accepts that position.
As well as for the additions to the agenda, we have item number 6, the retention of 1 year for this child hearing during the 2015 school year for a certified employee. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda as read?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda passed. We also have consideration of recommended social studies instructional materials adoption, which was presented to us last month. Do I hear a motion to accept the recommended social studies instructional materials?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I will recuse myself and turn the time over to Trustee Grace.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion?
Do I hear a motion for those in favor of giving a 0.5% raise and the 3% steps and ladder raise to classified and administrative salaries?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay.
Kathy? Kathy, did
She
you
said
hear?
aye.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Consideration of policy 901.4, rules and regulations covering use of facilities. And that's the one that we discussed again tonight. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to say thank you, Catherine and Rob, both for working on it, getting it off John's plate.
We haven't voted yet. We haven't voted yet. Wait on.
Do I hear a motion to accept? Or, excuse me, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. New policy 901.4 has been accepted. And the consideration of draft policies, policy 206.3B, intellectual property. And do you want to go through these individually or lump sum?
Lump sum, but if I could just ask a couple of questions about that.
Okay, we'll get, as soon as we get into the discussion after the motion, we'll take care of that. So do I hear a motion to accept policy 206.3B, intellectual property, policy 402.6B, employing retired teachers and administrators, policy 415.4 and 426.4, bullying, intimidation, and harassment, SNAP, policy 502.6, bullying, intimidation, and harassment students, policy 505, fines and payment of fees, and policy 501 or 505.1, theft or destruction of school property.
I beat you. I'll move to approve all those policies.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Great. So yeah, I know that the intellectual property, I'm just curious, did you get Amy McGrath or who?
Amy White.
Amy
Oh,
White.
Amy White,
Amy
sorry.
White, yes.
Sorry.
We commented on that, and Brett Walther, who works in their office, got back to us on that. And so there's a little bit of a change in there, but the main thing was that intellectual property and real property are a little different. However, that's the
the only little part that and I'm really sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you before this, was the bid process. I wanted to make sure that the bid process is covered, because that's been a concern in the past, where intellectual property was not subject to the same bid process for whatever reason. And so in terms of when there's a word for it, it's a legal term. It's not a transfer. The bid process, when, for example, in the past we had software, and that software changed hands without it didn't change hands, it was leased without a bid process. So, and there was a question about why that happened. And so even when you lease property, it's got to be subject to a bid process so that the taxpayer is protected. And so that was my only thing. And I should have gotten on this, like I said, I'm sorry, John, that I didn't talk to you about this before. But that was one of the main things that I would have liked to heard Amy White address in here, just to tighten it up, to make it very clear for the future. And I can take that on. I'd be happy to, because I know you're not kind of done your thing here. If you want me to just ask her about that.
Could we approve this policy and then just create one specifically for the bidding process, so that was a very simple couple sentences but was available? That we could move this one forward and then just develop that? What do you think about that, John? Is that
My only question to the legal firm was the clarification of intellectual and real property.
Right.
So I wasn't understanding the bid process.
Sure.
because this policy does cover the transfer of materials.
In the past, we've had some, we need clarity, I think. Yeah.
You need to hire an attorney.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we need clarity.
So do you think, what Rob was saying about doing an additional policy, passing this one tonight and then just doing a small bid one? Sure.
Or I would just recommend that Trustee Schroedel has some conversation with Amy White, because I will admit that I went home and had some conversation with my attorney husband trying to figure out, and there is a point where intellectual property can be converted to real property depending on where it is in the development stage type of thing. And I think the biggest thing that we need to be incredibly conscious of is when we have something like that we are hiring an attorney to really help us through this process rather than trying to muddle through it ourselves.
Yes, correct. At the last time, we did get the opinion of one of the most esteemed attorneys, and they said that it should be subject to a bid process, but somehow that didn't happen. So.
Okay, further discussion on these policies? All in favor of passing policies as stated?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And item F, consideration of strategic plan action plans. Do I hear a motion to accept the action plans of the strategic plan as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, items board deems necessary. Trustee Graves?
I just have one thing to add, and this is going to be a little bit from our last meeting about our hiring of the mental health therapist with substance abuse training, and putting together a hiring committee / I don't know if it'll be the same thing. Maybe it'll be a task force with some people on the task force who are on the hiring committee. But I'm just wondering, I wanted to ask Gwen Carroll if there was a little bit of a timeline on it, and then also if we could talk as a board, a little bit about that, because I know we all talked about that task force, and we put that in our motion, and we put that hiring committee in our motion. So I just wanted to follow up on that.
Well, my recommendation would be that in July, when you are appointing people to committees, that you come with a recommendation of a person you would like to be on that committee and the organization they represent, so we can cross-check amongst ourselves and make sure we don't have 5 from one organization and no one from somebody else. Because also part of your motion was to have it be, that hiring process to happen when the new high school administration was in place, and that will be August before he is here. And so it's probably August or September before the actual interviewing can start. So I don't feel too great of an urgency, but if we had names in July, we'd be ready to roll once he's got his feet on the ground here on a permanent basis. So.
And you could at least advertise. Would you advertise
yes,
for it?
we could go ahead and start the position posting.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
I actually feel like this hiring committee could have input into what that would be all about and what the community needs. And I think that what we've heard, and we heard it repeatedly, is that this should be a collaborative effort. And I want to make sure that the community is represented more than the district, because we have heard loud and clear that we have a lot of good expertise in this community that has boots on the ground expertise with all that. Not that our staff doesn't, but I feel very strongly that that's a part of this. I don't want this. I want to make sure that the community is the majority of this committee, and so that's.
So what should their first task be then? Is there a defined job description for this role? Should they define the job description? How do you see this rolling out?
That sounds like a starting spot, a starting point. I mean, that's kind of defining what we're starting to look for, and I think that, yeah, that's pretty key to get right.
There are other school districts that have mental health therapists, so there's a lot of already job descriptions out there that we can
I think
pull
that would
from.
be something that would be good, obviously, to develop
Sure.
before hiring somebody.
Right, and maybe
Just
take a
good
stock
practice.
job description, from other schools, and then tailor it to what we need.
Okay, Mr. Blackman.
Would the board like me to collect, half a dozen of those job descriptions?
Please. That would be a good place to start.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further from the board? I was kind of going back through my thoughts and remembered the letters and requests from the Syringa Mountain School. And in my reply on behalf of the board to them, I requested that we waited till after the strategic planning process was complete. With the passing of that tonight, I would like to invite staff to reach out to Syringa Mountain School, see if they're still interested in pursuing that arrangement and what that would look like, and for staff to start researching how or what those implications would be to the district for recommendations coming before us in the future. Dr. Holmes.
There is in Idaho Code the requirement that we do due diligence if we were to have a conversation about having them become part of us. And so that is certainly something. I don't know that there's any downtime, but over the summer there's a little more downtime. So it's something we could certainly reach out to the Syringa staff or board, I guess, and see if this is something they're still interested in, and then we could begin to work with them on reviewing the documents and stuff that would need to be reviewed as a part of the due diligence. And then that allows us to come back to you with, here are the considerations, and then you make a decision from there. So.
Do I hear consensus from the board that we can task Dr. Holmes and staff to be able to do that?
Yes, I think it's appropriate.
Okay. All right, and then I had one other thing that I would like to do. Rob, would you go get the stuff in the library?
Okay.
I would.
Do I need to?
I would just like to. I would just like to recognize Trustee Graves for her 5+ years of service. I call her my little Pollyanna. She's got the largest soul of anyone I know, and I really appreciate serving with her. And so we have a plant for her, as well as our board clerk and her years of dedication and service. I'd just like to recognize both Catherine and Ms. Kaufman and say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for all you do. It's been a pleasure and an honor serving with you and learning from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Those are beautiful. And I'm not much for saying anything, but I thought I'd better say I wrote something, but I had to write it out, as usual. So thank you, everyone. That's beautiful. Now Lori and I are twins. So as my 5 years comes to an end, I just want to thank all of the staff for answering my questions, for being patient when I needed understanding, and offering support when needed. And I've done all that for the last 5 years. I also wanted to thank all the trustees with whom I've served, although there were times where we shared our differences. Expressing our individual beliefs made us stronger as a board. And I've enjoyed and appreciated working with all of you. We're all volunteers, and we've devoted our time and energy to what I think is the most important thing in our community, and that's the education of our children. So, in closing, we have great schools, an awesome staff, and an amazing community, and I know together that there's nothing we can't achieve.
Trustee Shortle.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you both so much for everything that you've done in the last 5 years. And I also wanted to recognize two really dedicated staff members, Pete Jervich and Dan McGee, and their tireless service to this district has been also just amazing. And I know that, it's not there's been bumps in the road, and for all of us, but, we were all in it together. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything further from the board as deems necessary? With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn the regular June board meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:30. And we'll use the